the and I'm just going to record the question and I'll turn it off when I'm done so our responses are not recorded, and then I'll turn it back on again when when I start to give the talk. But the question that I hope relates to the talk to consider is a word, an idea, an experience, a belief, something personal, if you can, about magic, about you and magic, right? So a word, a belief, uh, about magic. So I want to talk today about the mantra section of the sadhana, and um, I think with who's here today, this should be a really good discussion, I hope. Um, and our opening question had to do with magic. And the inspiration for that is that on some level, Tibetan Buddhism or Indo-Tibetan Buddhism, the immediate way, the practice of the Vajrayana, is a magical practice in the best use of that word. So as someone noted in our, opening round, it's not magical thinking. It's not, oh, if I think this, it has to happen, or the universe is somehow going to deliver to me tomorrow's stock futures, or some other special foreknowledge. Um, but as someone else noted, there are sometimes coincidences that are strange and unpredictable that happen, that you might find yourself aware of things that are likely to happen. And so there's a balance between those two. But the heart of the magic of the Vajrayana, the immediate way, is that the seed of awakening, Buddha nature, bodhicitta, Sugata Garbha, all words for that seed of awakening within the heart of your consciousness, that's already there. And if we provide the most opportune conditions, if we provide the conditions for that seed to sprout and flower, it will. And so the heart of the magic of the immediate way is recognizing that potential or seed like awareness within us and then providing the best conditions for that to awaken and to grow and flourish. Um, of course, if you don't believe in Buddha nature, this we can stop. Or if you don't believe that there's any connection between how you hold your mind and what happens next, we could stop, where we would have a whole different discussion. But the Vajrayana is built on those assumptions. But even more than that, it's built on the teachings of the Foundation Way, which is fundamentally we're more like a river than a rock, that the illusory sense of a solid permanent self is just that. It's like a dream, and that when you apply intelligence and wisdom and meditation practice to it, the closed fist of ego opens up and you find yourself back in the flow of experience. Saying that there is no permanent me does not mean that you have no experience. It really points at what's happening is this constant moment by moment flow in which there is no solid me that I can hold on to. And then the immediate way, also stands added to that, the teachings of the great way, which is not only am I flowing and moving and constantly changing a dynamic experience, so is the rest of the world. So there's no rocks anywhere. Not me, not the whole world, but this constant flow. And that leads to a feeling of interconnection from which flowers compassion. And so the teachings of the Great Way are often, summarized as shunyata and compassion, the open, empty fullness of shunyata and the experience of compassion that arises from a profound sense of being connected with everything else. On top of that, the possibility of awakening the seed of open-hearted presence, blossoms. And so that's where we are. And I'd like to look at the sadhana and go right from that to see if I can pull up the sadhana. Here we go, Sadhana of Mahamudra. And I'm going to go right to the top page. because it starts with magic, and then we've gone through the first 16 or so pages, right? So we take refuge, right? Um, we're recognizing this is a Vajrayana way of saying what I just said about the no solid ego and the openness of compassion. And we take those vows of refuge and bodhicitta. This is a Vajrayana formulation of those vows. Um, and then here at the very beginning, it's the third paragraph of the sadhana, right? This hum, which is going to be the mantra, the sacred magical formula that we're going to use. We immediately jump into the magic. So it's not like we build up to the magic and then we get there and then, no, we're trying to like just open up to it right away. And that's the flavor of this combination of the teachings of Mahamudra and Dzogchen. It's like, no, you can go right there. Um, you can go to it gradually and build up to it. That's a noble and well tried path. But this way is like, no, let's just go to it. My whole being is Dorje Trollo. My form is Karma Pakshi. My mind is Mikyo Dorje. My speech is Mikyo Dorje, and my mind is Rangjung Dorje. With that unwavering conviction, fearlessly enjoy the Mahamudra and attain the experience of Mahaati. So I'm going to give that to you slightly, changed with a comment. Right? Hum. My whole being is awake. My body is awake. My speech is awake. My mind is awake. With that unwavering conviction, fearlessly enjoy the experience of awake and attain the experience that everything is fundamentally awake from the very beginning. Hum. So we're right into the magic from the very beginning, right? To say my whole being is Dorje Trello and comment on that as my body is Dorje Trello, it's like, no, that's what we're visualizing. That's the outer form. All right, my form is Karma Pakshi, and my speech is Mikyo Dorje, and it's like we're talking about us, and we're using these images, and the more you do the sadhana, the more you would become familiar with, oh yes, Dorje Trollo looks like this, and Karma Pakshi looks like that, but however they look, or feel, or smell, or sound, or whatever the touch of them is to you, those are trying to express being awake. It's not about just something that happened 12 centuries ago. It's about this is what it's like to be awake. Right? And so we've gone through all of the sadhana. I'm not going to go through all the steps until we were on page 18, I think the last time we talked. We had just finished, let's see if I can find it. Um, 19. We had talked the last time about good and bad, happy and sad, all thoughts vanish into emptiness like the imprint of a bird in the sky. And so we've gone through this ceremony trying to connect with what it's like to be awake. We started with I'm awake. Now let's try to connect with it deeper and deeper, make it stronger and stronger. And then there's some recognition of this is what it's like to be awake. The mind is vividly open and things are happening. It is like a river flowing, and there are things in the river. There's water, there's waves, maybe there's leaves or twigs or bugs on the surface, fish in the waters, sand underneath being moved. Right? The river is rich. It's not just an idea, right? It's this full experience. This is the vividness of experience. The vividness of your experience could be awake, and yet there's nothing to hold on to, right? That's what we're trying to get to, right? And so the rest of this, and we're going to go through pretty quickly to the mantra section. The next section has to do with, and this is a very Vajrayana, magical, immediate way magic understanding. Here's the short version. You have to give in order to get. That's magic. I give in order to get. Right? And this is a very common religious spiritual theme, right? Um, here's an example I grew up with, a different sense of magic, but you're going to church to pray and you light a candle and you're giving the candle to whoever you're praying to, right? Well, they don't need a candle. What use do they have a candle in heaven? Like don't need no candles. But you're giving something which opens you up to receiving something. That's so common in magical practices. And so in the Vajrayana, the immediate way, we're giving something to awake mind. Here's the deal, and what makes Vajrayana work so fastly, quickly, what makes the immediate way work so quickly. Give everything. Every part of your experience, the sweet and the sour, the pleasant scented and the funky, the peace and the aggression, the love and the anger, the kindness and the hate. Give it all. Because we all have it all. So rather than pretending, oh, I'm this nice person over here and I only have nice thoughts, no, I'm giving it all. I'm giving my impatience and my arrogance and my pride, as well as my humility and my sense of patience and, like whatever I got, right? So here's the offer, and that's a feast offering. You're offering that so that whatever you experience can be part of the waking up. Doubt that wisdom exists within one, and other dualistic thoughts. All these are my feast offering. Food, wealth, companionship, fame, and sensual attachments, those are the nice things. All these I offer for the elaborate arrangement of the mandala. Wantingness, desire, and passion I offer as the great ocean of blood which comes from the killing of samsara. Those are the three poisons that basically cause the wheel of ego to keep turning. Thoughts of anger and hatred I offer as the amrita which intoxicates extreme beliefs and renders them inoperative. So all those things I might not like to admit to, all those difficult emotions, I'm offering them. All that arises within, wandering thoughts, carelessness, and all that is subject to ignorance, I offer as the great mountain of Torma, ornamented with the 8 kinds of consciousness. And because everybody here has practiced the entering the stream practice, this is the flowing stage. Whatever flows by, I offer. Whatever arises is merely the play of the mind. All of this I offer, filling the whole universe. I offer, and here's some of that higher wisdom that was being talked about in the questions and answer. I offer knowing that giver and receiver are one. I offer without expecting anything in return and without hope of gaining merit or positive energy. I make these offerings with transcendental generosity in the Mahamudra. So I just make these offerings because making offerings is a good thing to do for awake mind. It's a way that awake expresses itself. Now that I have made these offerings, and this is a very traditional Karma Kagyu prayer, grant your blessings so that my mind may be one with the Dharma. Grant your blessings so that Dharma may progress along the path. Grant your blessings so that the path may clarify confusion. Grant your blessings so that confusion may dawn as wisdom. So you've made your offering. And now you're going to welcome awake mind. It's like it's arriving and blessing you. Hum 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 in the cave of Taksan Sanjay Samdrup. He who has subdued the evil forces and buried treasure in rocks and snow mountains and the holy places of Tibet shows kindness to the people of the future dark age. I supplicate you, Dorje Trollo. I supplicate you, Ujjain Parmakara. We could have a long talk about each of these people, but I want to get to the mantra. Hum hum hum. You, Dorje Trollo Karmapakshi, are the Lord of Yidams and conquerors of the whole of existence and all apparent phenomena. You have subdued the viciousness of the Mongol emperor and overcome the energy of fire, water, poison, weapons, and evil forces. I supplicate you, O Karmapakshi. Very brief telling of this story. Karmapakshi, who's the second Karmapa, was supposedly taken prisoner into the court of the Khan. I think it was Ogadai Khan, but I'm not sure, one of the successors of Genghis Khan, and they tried to kill him. They tried to drown him, they tried to boil him alive, they tried to poison him, and they couldn't kill him, right? So that's what this is about, right? Hum hum hum, the next one. You who fulfill all wishes and are Lord of centerless space, you who shine with kind and luminous light, I supplicate you, Sorpupa, which is the guy, pa means guy, from Sorpu. So that's the first Karmapa, Tusum Kempa. Hum hum hum. Ah, Mikyo Dorje fills the whole of space. Ho, he is the Vajra joy which sends out luminous light. Hum, he is the energy of music and Lord of messengers. Om, he is the wrathful action which cleanses all impurities. So Mikyo Dorje. And these were the internal bodies inside of the visualization, right? And then hum hum hum, seeing the Bodhisattva Ranjung Dorje is like discovering the wish-fulfilling gem. He removes the poverty of oneself and others. He is the source of all that is needed. I supplicate his wisdom body. Hum hum hum, whatever occurs, and this is pure Mahamudra instruction. So we're talking now about the flow. Whatever occurs in the flow of your mind. So whatever occurs in the realm of the mind, such as thoughts of the five poison, passion, aggression, ignorance, envy, and pride, I think is the longer list, right? So anything difficult, right? Neither lead nor follow. Just let it remain in its true state and reach the liberation of Dharmakaya. I supplicate the Guru of self-liberated perfect insight. And then chant the triple hum as mantra over and over by uniting your mind with the thoughts of the ocean of siddhas. So this is like a description of what to do, and I don't want to, this is a little bit telling you what should happen, and I don't find this section that helpful, so I'm just going to say we chant the triple hum over and over, and I'm going to leave this without that part up because it's a little bit of a distraction for what we're going to talk about. So hum. Oh, let's stop that share, go to another share. Page 319. So, oh, I thought they would have a copy of that. This, for those of you who might not know it, is the letter or the seed syllable hum. This part, the top part, makes it. It's an H, right? A really long H, like that kind of H. Right? This little squiggle at the bottom is a vowel sign. It's a U. So this is H U, and this thing at the top puts an M at the top. So H U M. Tibetan syllables are like mandalas. They're like word pictures that get built. And then this little squiggle at the top, sort of means you can't hold on to this. There's lots of things you could say about this, but so this is the seed syllable hum. Right? I want to go back to page 319. And I'm going to close this for a second. So you've done the visualization, and you're visualizing yourself and the entire world as the world of this being. You are Dorje Trollo Karma Pakshi. You are just, I don't have the picture up, but that, being sort of red and holding a vajra in one hand and a three-pointed dagger in the other, and you're dancing on the back of a pregnant tigress, and the whole thing is happening in this on top of this giant lotus, which is on top of this giant mountain, and it's surrounded by this sort of fantastical world of burial grounds and yogis and wild animals, and that's the visualization. So you are Dorje Trollo Karma Pakshi. It doesn't say how big you are. So if you want to be as tiny as a mustard seed or as big as the universe, go ahead. Right? Your choice. But your entire experience, and there's virtue in doing it really tiny or really big. That's who you are. That's the experience you're having. And your body is made out of light, so you are like a hologram. And then inside of that hologram at the top is Tusum Kempa. At the throat is Mikyo Dorje. So this is an old man, with a beard, and he's sitting in with monastic robes. And this one is orange, and he's, dressed as a northern Indian prince, and he's holding a sword, and he's sitting on the back of a snow lion. And then this The one in the heart center is Rangjung Dorje, and he's like midnight blue and completely naked, right? And they represent, the additional energy. So your Dorje Trollo Karma Pakshi with Tusum Kempa, Mikyo Dorje, and Rangjung Dorje in your three energetic centers of head, throat, and heart. And then the instruction is that you're reciting the hum mantra. Hum, hum, hum. I've heard people do this hundreds of ways. I do it hum, 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 as a triplet hum, 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 hum. And I do it sort of as fast as is comfortable for me. Hum, 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 hum. And it's sort of like hum, 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 hum. But I have heard people go hum, 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 hum. Or I've heard other people go so fast I can't even distinguish what they're saying. Hum, 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 hum. You can do it whatever way you want. I'm sure there are people who will tell you, oh no, it has to be this way or that way. But we're talking about magic. So what I would say to you is, because I want to talk about what the syllable is for, do it in the way that produces the magic for you. The essence is do it in the way that produces the magic for you. And back to the beginning of the talk, the magic is there is this possibility of awake open-heartedness that exists within us. We call it Buddha nature, among other things. And you are trying to arouse and awaken that. So we all have the experience of magic. All of us who are on this computer mediated, call have it. And here's the example. Margaret and I were chatting about this morning. We're using Zoom. I have no idea how Zoom works. I mean, yes, I could tell you some principles of electronics and principles of how the internet works and maybe a little bit about, how the program is and blah, blah, blah. I don't have to know any of that. There's this little blue square, so maybe it's a little different on yours. A little blue square on my computer. I'm looking at it right now, and in little white letters it reads Z or Z if we're a Canadian, OOM. I just have to click the square. It's magic. I click the icon and Zoom happens. Same thing happens for I've been working a lot on some writing. I have Microsoft Word on my computer. It's a little white square with a blue, it's what's supposed to be like a piece of paper in it, and then a white W for Word. And I click on that, and the whole program, the whole Microsoft suite of things opens for me, right? Or at least that part opens for me, right? It's magical. I'm clicking on the icon and opening up the experience of Zoom or Word or whatever else I want to open up. So that's the principle of magic. I have to do something, right, to make it happen, but then this thing happens. The mantra syllable is like an audio icon or a visual icon if you want to visualize the letter hum or the syllable hum. And we are pressing the icon, the audio icon. Hum hum hum, 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 hum hum, right? And I think that a way to understand that mantra of hum hum hum, right, in this sadhana, you might translate it as awake. You could translate it as wake up or lots of other things, but like I think awake for me, I like the shorter the better. Could be wake, 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 right? Uh, but it's like awake, 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 awake. So that experience of Dorje Trollo Karma Pakshi, right, is completely like you're waking up. It's not a sleepy, oh, anything can happen. It's no, I am holding myself here present, awake, focused, and whatever's happening in the flow, because that's what I offered in the feast, everything that's flowing by, that's part of being awake. So if my shoulder, which today feels pretty good, I offer that to awake. A truck just went by or a car, I offer that to awake, right? I snap my fingers and I had the feeling of the fingers snapping and that sound, I offer that to awake. I've been drinking coffee, the aftertaste of coffee, whatever. Everything's awake, 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 awake. And part of how the magic of the Vajrayana, the immediate way, works is that we've created such a powerful environment of being awake with this imagination of my whole being is karma pakshi and my form is mikyo dorje, my mind is wrong, like that whole, like there's not a lot of space for me to wander around and become ordinary, daily, confused, worried about something else, Brian. No, I'm back into karma pakshi, dorje trello karma pakshi with the three karmapas. And I'm holding the posture. And then the mantra, part of how mantra literally means mind protection in Sanskrit. The mantra holds you present. So you might waver. For those of us who've done meditation is freedom and entering the stream, a lot of it is getting your mind to stay present, right? By going hum, 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 awake, 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 there's not a lot of room for your mind to wander into neurotic craziness. No, awake, 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 awake. Oh, bored. No, awake, 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 awake. Awake, awake, awake. It really just holds you there. And so, if you really do want to feel like what it's like to be awake, this will take you there very quickly. That's the magic. Now, here's the deal. A lot of times we will say, I don't know about you, but I'll say, I want to feel awake. And then the intensity and the vividness of awake starts to happen. No, no, I'd like to dial it back a bit. And Dorje Trello goes, no, 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 no. No, it's awake or everything else. Your choice. You don't get to negotiate the menu. So, do you want to wake up? Because here it is. Awake, awake, awake. Awake, awake, awake. Hum, hum, hum. Hum, hum, hum. And the way the mantra is practiced, you recite the triple hum for some length of time. So let's say we were going to practice the mantra section for 15 minutes. Then the first third, more or less, and the chant leader will signal this, or if you're doing it yourself, you just do it yourself. You go hum, 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 audibly. And then the next third, you can, um, often it's described as sub-audible. You can't hear it, but you're sort of thinking to yourself, maybe even still moving your lips, but nothing's, but you don't have to be moving your lips. Hum, 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 like in your head, hum, 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 just thinking it. Right? And then the final part is you let the whole thing go, but you're remembering awake, 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 without even having to say that. Awake, awake, awake. So that's how the mantra is practiced. Every sadhana has something that, that's sort of like the climax or the most important. That's where this whole thing has been building up to. This is the crescendo, and then there'll be a way that we finish. Um, so my aspiration, and I'm going to pause the talk here.